story 40 something, intermission between two turbulent periods in this action-packed movie. Action-packed, my ass. Um, I would just interpose a little chapter which I don't really know where to place exactly. I know it's before, and in neither, in no, in any case, not between uh, those major parts, volumes, if you will, of my story. But I just remembered it, so let's have it here. Nobody's watching anyway, so nobody will complain, and there won't be any unsatisfied watcher, never mind few. So if you have any, please write down comments and suggestions. Yeah, right. We'll take them in and act upon it. So I remembered spending time in a hospital. Uh, in university, I stopped, interrupted for 2 years on medical grounds. So I spent time in various hospitals, and one was a student hospital. And there I met this, let's have it, Gabriela. It's not her name, definitely, Claudia. But it doesn't mind, it doesn't matter. On a side note, now that they have again in North Korea fifth nuclear explosion, after they tested so many rockets and it's getting so dangerous. We also had in this hospital at one point a guy from North Korea who was either very well trained or brainwashed or just plain stupid. But when we asked about Kim Il-sung was leader at that time, the grandfather, the lunatic of today, he kept saying like we were talking about God Almighty or Zeus or terrifying. And he had a few others, probably lower on their hierarchy guys, would come to see him and act with veneration towards this patient. So we met, we liked each other. We even went to spend the night in the bed of one who was missing. From what I know, a black guy, one of the few we had at that time, was missing, so his bed was empty. He was out on for the weekend, whatever. Then we continued outside the hospital, this romance or affair, whatever. And she would come to my place being my mother's apartment, abode. So she would come, she would go every morning from her apartment near Tinaretului, and she would say she's going to school, but actually she ended up in my bed. It's been like that, great. But what made it unusual at one point was that somehow I came with this idea of making it more exciting or just playing, fooling around. Whatever the reason, I one day said to her, I was maybe anticipating, feeling that it's getting to a dead end or to the end. And I said, look, I'm an agent. I'm an agent of Securitate, local KGB. And I was just sent to you to convince you to join the ranks. That was all. I mean, we whatever happened, it was just like in the movies, meant as a decoy, a plot to get close to you and then come up with this to know you better and trust that we can make you the offer. And she fell for it. And to cut a long story short, she fell for it. And she was interested. Oh yeah, and they would travel in that. That helped now remember that it was also a ploy, a decoy, something, trap from my end, trying to see the waters she was in, as we say here, Chapes Escalda, what was on her mind. And alas, I could see that indeed she was keen on answering with yes. If I would just say, well, would you like to sleep with other men, many men, or foreign men, or whatever, she would say, oh, no, no, why? We were so. But presented with this story, she thought she didn't have, since I'm making the proposition, she can say yes. And she just grabbed the, you would have to sleep around because that's the job, and then you would have to go with Middle Eastern people. And yeah, okay. Well, if I have to, but she pretended serious. Okay, but she was. I'm just guessing this is speculation. She was excited inside. Quickly accepted with a stony face, but with a great excitement, my guess. And confirmed, that's just the inside. At the end, she went. One day, I went to see what she's doing. She was pretending to not to be available, and went to school. We met. I can't. I have to go to lab to. Okay, but I went. Pretended to go. 20 meters. Stopped. I went back and I saw that she's coming back from the lab. She, like me, she went a few steps in. So I went to the subway station, followed. I took the same tube, like again, like in those movies. And she ended up in one of those dormitories where Arabs stay. It was an obnoxious attitude we had, but we resented those foreigners like they do now. Trump talks about the big, beautiful wall. They make walls in the border of Hungary and so many other countries. But in those cases, they resent immigrants who would come and take from what they have, their comfort. In that case, not nicer, but different. We resented that they had so much. I mean, we were in this land where we had access to nothing, queues and shortages of food, anything, bread, nylon stockings. You couldn't find coffee, you couldn't find anything, cigarettes. But they had dollars, so they had access to the dollar shops where you could buy some pairs of stockings. And with a couple of pairs of stockings, you could get a nice coat to fuck around with you. Well, nice in looks, perhaps not so nice in from an ethical point of view.